Hello, I'm Elliot Hibbler, Senior Law Librarian here at Northeastern, and I'll be taking you through some concepts related to finding legal information, starting with citation. You have seen citations in all of the sources you have already covered. Let's go in depth on those, and later we'll look at the organization of legal information more broadly, in both print and online. Citations allow a reader to find the specific source that a writer is referencing. To do this, citations must have enough information to tell a reader the name of the source and where in the source to look. For a book, a citation could include things like the title, author, and date of publication. If the author is referring to material on a specific page of a book, that would be included too. The second important quality of a citation is that it is unique. Articles can have the same title. One author can write many articles. Thus, using just an author or title alone wouldn't do much good. Unfortunately, this leads to a more complicated citation. For citations in legal writing, you will almost always be using the Blue Book. There is another manual, the ALWD or Allwood, but that system isn't widely adopted. The current edition of the Blue Book is the 19th edition. Do not be surprised if sometime in the next 3 years you see the 20th edition come out. The basics do not change much, so you should have no trouble with reading citations based on an earlier Blue Book. The Blue Book is divided into 3 main parts. First, there are the blue pages. These rules are geared towards practitioners writing for a court. They have good examples of basic citation methods. The second section is the white pages. This section is more in-depth than the blue pages, with many more examples of different sources. This section is geared more toward legal academic writing, where you might have a very wide variety of sources cited. It is divided into 21 rules. Finally, there are the tables, which provide examples for implementing certain rules. Some tables include Table 1, which shows abbreviations of many different courts across the country, and many tables with abbreviations. Let's look in the white pages at Rule 10, covering cases. How did I know Rule 10 covered cases? We'll get back to that. Here is an example derived from Rule 10. So what do all of these mean? This is the reporter abbreviation, which raises the question, what is a reporter? A reporter is the collection of all of the decisions from a particular court or courts. For instance, the U.S. reporter is a collection of U.S. Supreme Court cases. To find the reporter for a particular court, refer to Table 1 of the Blue Book. Note that some cases can be printed in several different reporters. This is the volume number of the reporter. Reporters come out chronologically, but at no set time. Thus, this is a 314th volume of the United States Reporter to come out. This is the page number the case starts on in the reporter. When there are 2 numbers, the second is the specific page in the reporter that the material comes from. Here, the case starts on page 1 of the reporter, but this would be citing material on page 4. This is the names of the parties. Rule 10 details the many ways to abbreviate long party names, and there are several tables in the back of the Blue Book that also give abbreviations. Finally, this is the date. Keep in mind this is the date the opinion was released, not the date the case was argued. So what do you do if you want to cite something from the United States Code annotated? In this example, we see it citing Title 3, Section 102 of the United States Code annotated. Well, we need to figure out what rule covers the USCA. There are several finding aids in the Blue Book to help us look. First, we can check the table of contents. A table of contents of a source lays out the order in which things are discussed and provides a good outline of the different topics covered. Usually you'll see this in terms of chapters of a book. Here in the Blue Book, they actually divide it up by rules. Scanning these rules make it look like codes are talked about in Rule 12 in statutes under Rule 12.3. Instead of the table of contents, we could look at the index. An index is just a list of where different subjects and sources are covered in a book. Here, there's an entry for United States Code Annotated, listing page 114, 115, and 218. We'll go to page 114 and 115. Looking at Rule 12.3.1, we see a description of all the information that can go into a citation of current official or unofficial codes. Scanning this, it discusses section numbers, titles, volumes, and publishers. When we get to D, we see a good example that includes the United States Code Annotated, just like the one we were looking at. This example uses Title 42, but we can analogize and use the same citation format for Title 3. Thus, we end up with a citation of 3 USCA Section 102, parentheses, West 2005. This means it was Title 3 of the United States Code Annotated, Section 102. The United States Code Annotated was published by West, and the volume I was looking at was from 2005. We haven't talked much about the tables yet. Table 1 in particular is worth looking at. This is taken from the Massachusetts page and provides a lot of useful information about the legal information system in Massachusetts as well as citation. There's a page like this for all 50 states, listed alphabetically, and also a page for the federal government. The highest court in the state is always the first one listed. In Massachusetts, it is the Supreme Judicial Court, or SJC. The lower courts appear below. One other note about Massachusetts. The Blue Book says to cite an opinion to the Northeastern Reporter if possible. The SJC has its own court rule that requires citation to Massachusetts reports. The lesson is to be sure there are no local rules that supersede the Blue Book. Next, you will see the statutory compilations and session laws. The first one listed is generally the official reporter, or the one that's best to cite to. This also includes annotated versions of the state code. Massachusetts, as you can see, has annotated code from both West and LexisNexis. Finally, you see sources of administrative law in Massachusetts. Many of the sources you have seen in these lessons have finding aids. Tables of content and indexes are not limited to print material. Many databases incorporate them into their user interface. Finding aids can be a great help to you to zoom in on just the parts of a resource you need before you start any keyword searching. Bloomberg Law, Lexis Advance, and Westlaw Next all share similar strength: the ability to do that keyword search in a vast amount of legal information. This is also their biggest weakness. You need a way to sort through the massive number of results you can get back from a search. You can do this by filtering. You have a couple of options for filtering search results. First, you can filter results before even running the search. This is the best way to search if you need one type of material, like a case, from a particular jurisdiction. Here, we could filter just by looking for regulations, or we could filter by looking for a particular state. On the other hand, you can wait to filter until after your search. Here, in Bloomberg Law, you can filter your results to a date range, to a specific circuit, or to a specific state. There are even more options out of the picture. In addition to filtering, most databases allow you to do an advanced search. These can have different options depending on the database, but most have a similar set of features. 1. You can search for documents with specific words or combinations of words. You can even specify how close together the words are. You can also exclude documents with certain words. In many databases, you can usually search by an author or a judge who wrote an opinion. Here, Lexis calls it search tips instead of advanced search, but it serves the same function of letting you beyond a simple keyword search. Questions? You can contact any of the research librarians by emailing us at lawresearchhelp@neu.edu. You can find our individual email addresses on our website, along with numerous research guides. Also call us at 617-373-3332. Good luck with your research.